Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're exploring an absolutely epic cosmic reality that's happening right now, just beyond our physical perception. We're talking about the unseen, or Al-Ghaib, and this profound, invisible war that Islamic theology tells us has been raging since before humanity even existed. We are going to unpack the incredible story of Iblis, dig into the actual mechanics of magic, and see exactly how Islam views this unseen battleground. So let's just jump right in. What happens when smokeless fire completely refuses to bow to clay? Well, that's the ultimate question at the very heart of this cosmic drama. We're looking at a mystery that literally started a rebellion, one that shook the foundations of the universe. It's a story of a spectacular fall from grace, and honestly, it sets the entire stage for the human experience as we know it today. You see, the human story isn't actually the first story. According to Islamic sources, a full 2,000 years before humans ever stepped onto the stage, the earth belonged to the jinn. These were beings created from the purest, smokeless fire. But their reign, it was incredibly chaotic. They caused immense corruption and bloodshed on earth. Some sources even mention this vicious, crawling tribe called Bin Kind. And that destructive nature really set a dark precedent in the universe.
Now, to understand what happens next, we kind of need to look at how these different beings were designed, because it beautifully outlines the cosmic hierarchy. On one hand, you have angels. They're created from pure light, they're completely obedient, and they have absolutely no free will. And then you have the jinn, made of fire, and later humans, made of clay. Both jinn and humans possess this crucial and honestly dangerous gift, free will. That's the capacity to choose and inevitably the capacity to rebel.
So, because of all this rampant corruption on earth, Allah announced the creation of a new Khalifa, a successor or a deputy for the earth. This was Adam. And he wasn't born from evolution. He was fashioned directly from clay by divine power, and a divine soul was breathed right into him. Obviously, this sent a massive shockwave through the cosmic order. And to establish Adam's authority, Allah commanded all the angels to prostrate, or bow down, to this brand new creation. While that supreme command led to the first great rebellion in existence, every single angel bowed. But not Iblis. Iblis was actually a jinn who had ascended to the ranks of the angels through intense dedicated worship. But when he was asked what prevented him from bowing, his answer was essentially the first expression of arrogance and racism in history. He said, "I am better than he. You created me from fire and him from clay." His fatal flaw wasn't that he didn't believe in God, it was sheer blinding arrogance. He placed his own flawed logic above a direct divine command.
But, there's another really fascinating angle to this. In some esoteric texts, like the famous Arabic occult manuscript the Shams al-Ma'arif, some mystics viewed this rebellion a bit differently. According to the Sufi mystic Hallaj, Iblis is Majnun, which means made crazy through his intense, loving devotion to Allah. From this specific esoteric perspective, his refusal to bow to anyone but God was this thunderous, passionate devotion that, because it was unguided, just hardened into absolute dogmatism and tyranny. It really adds a complex layer to how we understand the origin of evil.
Because of his ultimate arrogance, Iblis was cursed. He was stripped of his angelic beauty and expelled from paradise. But he actually asked for a respite until the day of judgment, and that was granted. And then he made this absolutely chilling vow. He said, "I will come to them from in front of them, from behind them, from their right and from their left." He promised a multi-dimensional war of misguidance against humanity, and it was driven entirely by pure revenge and envy. And Iblis didn't wage this new war with a sword. He waged it with a whisper. He sneaked back into paradise. Some narrations suggest he actually hid in the mouth of a serpent to get past the guards, and he targeted Adam and Eve. This right here reveals his ultimate playbook. He didn't command them to rebel directly. No, instead, he planted tiny seeds of doubt and suspicion. He dressed up disobedience so it looked like freedom, tricking them into eating from the forbidden tree. And just like that, the perfect paradise heard its very first lie. With that singular, fateful act, Adam, Eve, and Iblis were sent down to earth, and the battlefield of life truly began. The whole cosmic struggle shifted from heaven down to the material world. Earth became the arena, and human free will, that became the ultimate testing ground. Every choice we make tips the scales of eternity, and all the while, there's an unseen enemy watching from the shadows, just waiting to drag us down.
Okay, so let's dive into how this unseen war actually operates in practice. In Islamic theology, the ultimate weapon of this misguidance is called sihr, or black magic. Now, sihr is strictly defined as an illicit, hidden agreement between a human sorcerer and Satan.
This isn't fantasy or sleight of hand. It literally involves a sorcerer committing illegal or polytheistic acts in direct exchange for demonic assistance. It is a very real and very dark pact.
So, how does this dark pact actually work? Well, it's basically a transaction of mutual loss. Step 1. The magician commits shirk. That's an act of disbelief or an act that deeply insults the sacred, like desecrating holy texts. Step 2. By doing this filthy act, demonic jinn are summoned and worshipped. And Step 3. In return for this subjugation, the jinn go out and perform malicious acts for the magician. The human is essentially trading their eternal soul for some temporary dark favors.
And what exactly are these favors? Well, the dark aims of Seher are entirely destructive. The sources specifically highlight the goal of separating husbands and wives, which completely destroys the foundational unit of society. It also involves causing unexplained physical illnesses, stirring up massive societal chaos or fitna, and ultimately, the grand goal of the jinn is to drag as many human souls into the hellfire as possible. That is the endgame.
And this is not a new phenomenon at all. The Quran, specifically in Surah Al-Baqarah, traces the deep historical roots of this practice right back to the ancient city of Babylon and to two angels, Harut and Marut, who were sent down as a test. The verse explicitly states that people learn from them how to divide a man and his wife. But it also issues this stark, terrifying warning: whoever buys into this magic shall have no share in the world to come.
But here is an absolutely fundamental, orthodox pillar of Islamic theology that we really have to understand. Magic has no independent power whatsoever. It is not some alternate power that rivals God. As the Quran explicitly states, magicians cannot harm anyone except by the permission of Allah. So even the darkest evil and the most terrifying demonic forces out there operate strictly within God's overarching sovereignty. Yes, it exists, but it is completely subservient to the divine will.
To understand how all of this evolved historically, we've got to look at the esoteric world. When we talk about magic in the Islamic context, we absolutely have to mention the Sun of Knowledge, or the Shams al-Ma'arif. Attributed to a 13th century figure named Ahmad al-Buni, this is pretty much the single most influential Arabic occult text in history. It attempts to systematically map out the unseen. It's incredibly controversial because it seriously blurs those dangerous lines between formal religion and the occult.
A core concept in these esoteric systems is Ilm al-Huruf, the science of letters. This is a mystical worldview that sees the universe as fundamentally mathematical and linguistic. The idea is that because God created the universe through a spoken command, be and it is, the Arabic alphabet isn't just viewed as a human invention for talking to each other. In this esoteric view, the letters are the literal atomic building blocks of reality itself. Practitioners believe that if you can alter the source code, you can alter reality.
So, to harness this alleged source code, esoteric practitioners use what's known as talismanic magic, and the complexity involved here is staggering. It requires ultra-precise astrological timing, meticulously mapping out the 28 lunar mansions. It utilizes the baraka, or the inherent power of specific Quranic surahs, as well as the divine names of God. It's basically an attempt to capture the fires of heaven and trap them inside a material object. And as you can guess, Orthodox scholars view this practice as incredibly dangerous and explicitly forbidden.
So how do we make sense of these different practices? Well, a stark divide emerges here. On one side, you have the orthodox approach to the unseen, which is called Ruqya. Its foundations are drawn strictly from the Quran and Sunnah. It relies entirely on divine protection, and it is considered completely legitimate. On the totally opposite side, you have forbidden sihr. This relies on hidden sources, demonic pacts, and shirk. In the Islamic paradigm, this is completely illegitimate and strictly prohibited.
And here's the wild part. Much of what operates in the realm of fortune-telling and magic is actually based on a massive deception. The sources describe it as the illusion of the unseen. What happens is, demonic jinn will attempt to travel up to the heavens, eavesdrop on the angels discussing divine decrees, and snatch just a fragment of truth. Then, they pass that truth down to a fortune teller or a sorcerer on earth, but they mix that one stolen truth with 100 or 1,000 lies just to create maximum confusion. It's essentially a cosmic con game.
Because of these demonic pacts and all this inherent deception, the ultimate Islamic ruling on magic is incredibly severe. It's classified as kufr, meaning absolute disbelief, and shirk, meaning polytheism. In fact, the Prophet Muhammad explicitly classified it as one of the 7 major deadly sins that doom a person. Engaging in this, worshiping jinn for favors, it doesn't just get you in trouble, it fundamentally ejects a person from the Islamic faith. It's viewed as complete spiritual suicide.
Which naturally brings us to a really profound philosophical question, one that ties this whole epic cosmic narrative right back to our daily lives. If magic is so destructive, and if Iblis is such a terrifying, multidimensional enemy, why did Allah allow this enemy to exist in the first place? Why grant Iblis the time to misguide humanity? Why place this massive, invisible hurdle right in our path?
The sources provide a really empowering theological answer to this. Simply put, without a force pulling us down, humanity cannot truly rise. It's like gravity. You need resistance to build strength. The struggle against the whispers of the unseen, the resistance against temptation, magic, and arrogance, that is the exact mechanism designed for human spiritual growth. Difficulties, pain, and having an active enemy push humans to turn to the divine and discover their true strength and purpose.
And the beautiful part of all this is that we are never left unarmed in this battle. As the sources remind us, for every whisper of Iblis, there will be the voice of a prophet or a saint to resist it. The cosmic war is perfectly balanced. For every dark force that's attempting to pull humanity into the abyss, there's a counterbalance of divine guidance, revelation, and truth to elevate us. The ultimate choice of which voice to listen to, that remains entirely ours.
Which brings us to the end of today's explainer. If the universe truly is a linguistic code, and the unseen realm is merely a mirror reflecting the consequences of our free will, we have to ask ourselves, what reality are your daily actions spelling out? Are you using your choices to build a fortress of light, or are you unwittingly opening doors to the dark? Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating and complex topic with us today.